often by choice, so bear with me. God was working on me with this lesson. Wasn't sure what to do for quite some time. And I kept coming back to, I think partially because I finished reading the Bible for the year a few weeks ago, and I kind of kept coming back to Revelation. It's a book of the Bible that I don't like to read. I kind of get through it really fast to just get it over with. I'm a very literal thinker. The imagery is very hard for me to understand. I picture it in my head a lot. I don't make sense of it. I find it scary. End times is scary for me, and I am not going to discuss about when things happen, how they happen, why they happen, because I have no clue. I didn't share these scriptures with the projector people in the back because this isn't important, but here's just an example of things that are weird to me that I try to picture, and then it just gets me all confused and weirded out. So Revelation 12:1 talks about, there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. Okay, so I'm picturing a lady wearing the sun with the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Still going there with the moon and the stars and stuff. And she's with child, so now she's pregnant wearing the sun, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And then there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns. So literally, I'm trying to picture this dragon with all these heads and horns and things going on, and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew a third part of the stars in heaven. Okay, so now a third of the stars for real are following it. I don't know. And then it's ready to devour her child. And so all of this is like messing around in my head. No idea what it means. Not going to try to explain that. And if you go to Revelation 13, more beasts. This one comes up out of the sea, has 7 heads and 10 horns. Now I'm trying to picture which of the heads have 2 horns going on. Do some have 3? I don't know. That was like the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, so it sort of looks like a leopard, but it's coming out of the sea. Its feet were like the feet of the bear. Now it's got bare feet. Its mouth was like a lion. The dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. I don't know what's going on there. I can't figure it out. But apparently, if you study that and you're a scholar, you can figure out what the imagery is. I'm not real sure what that means. Anyway, so how do you make sense of this? What lessons can we learn out of the book of Revelation? I promise there's some things that can be learned for simplistic people that think literally like me. So, and then when we were down at the Motion Conference, and for those of you that don't know, it's a church growth conference, very big church that had a hurricane wipe it out, went all the way down to 50 people. Now they're back up to well over 1,000 people. Really great preaching. The pastor's wife got up. She has this amazing dad that was the former pastor, amazing husband that's the pastor now. And she got up to talk, and she said, can't stand, or she said, didn't say can't stand, but she's like, don't like talking about the book of Revelation. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to talk about it. She said it too. It's not just me. What am I going to talk about? How am I going to do this? So I knew I had to study it more, and I had to try to figure it out and read it some more. So I found some simplistic lessons. So that's what I'm going with here. So one thing I did learn is that Revelation is the only book that promises blessings twice to those who read and study it, which is pretty interesting. Revelation 1:3 says, "Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand." And if you go on, the other blessing is in Revelation 22:7. "Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book." And like I said before, so most people talk about Revelation, they talk about the end, how the tribulation's going to work out, if the church is going to be here, if it's not going to be here, when things are going to happen, and all that kind of stuff. However, like I said, there's just some basic, simple things we can get from the book itself. One thing we can learn from it is that God is still in control. No matter what's going on with these presidents and world leaders and things, He is still ultimately in control. If it seems like the church is gone, which Revelation does promise, there's going to be a time where it's going to seem like the church is just not around. Revelation 1, 4, and 5 says, John to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you and peace, from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne, and from Jesus Christ, who is the faithful witness, and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the earth. So he's ruler over the kings of the earth, is what that's saying there. Psalm 10 and 16 said, the Lord is king forever and ever. And then Jeremiah 10 and 10 says, but the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting king. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation. And then Proverbs 21 and 1 says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. So even though it might seem like God's in control and these leaders are doing all this stuff, he still is in control, and he has a plan for all of this. Another thing we can get from the book of Revelation is that we cannot comprehend the great things that still lie ahead. Meaning more like we can't comprehend just how amazing heaven will be. And Revelation 21, 1 through 4 says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and he shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them, and be their God. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Romans 8, 17 and 18 says, and if children, then heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ, if so be that we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. For I reckon the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Yeah, so what the little bit of suffering and things that happen in this world are nothing compared to the rewards that are in heaven, that we can't even imagine what it'll be like. And then finally, which is still, I gotta be a little scary because Revelation still is a little scary. Hell is real, eternal, and terrible. Revelation 20 and 10 says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Forever and ever. We can't even comprehend, but it's what it says, forever and ever. And then Revelation 20 and 15 goes on to say, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So like I said, that can be pretty scary. And then when I think about it a lot, I start thinking about missed opportunities, things that I don't do enough to try to reach people. And it can be hard because, I'm really good at beating myself up. But it's important to remember that God's not the one that beats us up. It's our own flesh. And that God does give us talents, and that we have to use those talents. And we all have them. Just because I'm not good at something doesn't mean I don't have something else that I'm good at that you can use to try to reach people. 2 Peter 1 and 3 says, according as his divine power hath given unto us all things that pertaineth unto life and goodness, through the knowledge of him that hath called us to glory and virtue. So, and then 1 Corinthians chapter 12, 7 through 11 says, but the manifestations of the Spirit is given unto every man to profit withal. For one is given the spirit of the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the discerning of spirits, to another diverse kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But all these worketh that one and the selfsame Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. So I think now, preachers and, we hear from ministers all the time that we think we're getting close to the end. I think it's more important than ever to pool our talents to reach the lost, to work together. So if you're like me, you're not really good at being super bold at saying, hey, come to my church. We have all these programs right now, the Connect groups. There's so many opportunities that we can invite people to come here. And don't, be like me and beat yourself up if you miss the opportunity, because even though time is short, there's other ways to do it. Like, for example, I'm not a great bowler. I don't like bowling that much. But if I know Jane at work really likes bowling and maybe I'm not a part of that Connect group, I can invite her to bowling in someone else's shoes and get her connected with people. And reach out to that Connect group and say, hey, I know I haven't come yet, but I have this friend, and, when do you meet, and things like that. Don't just stick with your own little Connect group. I feel like there's opportunities there, and that there's ways, or bring someone with little kids to the fall festival, or, whatever I feel like there's a lot of ways, and you can always reach out, and, maybe your thing's baking cookies. There's probably an event you could make cookies for or something to help, or make it for a Bible study, to kind of use your talents to reach people that way. So don't be like me. Don't beat yourself up. There's ways to help and ways to reach people. And if you look at Ecclesiastes chapter 4, just to do with the networking, to further expound on the networking and working with people, 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow, but woe unto them that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. So in conclusion, my lesson is short. There's some good lessons to be learned in Revelation. So if you can kind of train your mind to get past the imagery and not try to figure out what it means really, or what the timeline is, because that's actually, as I was reading things and studying, it's really not a chronological timeline. So don't ever do like me and try to figure out, well, that doesn't make sense, because it's really not a timeline. The woman sitting on 7 hills, don't try to picture that, because that's just weird. Many preachers are saying our time is short, and I really think it is. So I think that, teamwork, pooling our resources, working together, really realizing you're not out there alone, leaning on our brothers and sisters, networking can be one way that we can all work together and help reach everyone around us. Thanks. That's it.